Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today you're going to get a 2-for-1 special because in for review I have the Airmotiv B1 Plus, which is the new version of the Airmotiv B1s, came out at the end of 2019 I believe, and the Airmotiv S8 subwoofer. When I filmed my original review for the Airmotiv B1s, I sent the video to Emotiva and I was like, hey, these are great, thanks, I made a video. They're like, hey, do you want to review the new versions? They have a slightly upgraded crossover. It's a little bit more refined. I said, fuck yeah, send them over. And if you can, include the S8 subwoofer because I have a feeling they're going to pair really well together and make a really, really nice budget system. And they agreed, so here they are. I'm going to try to keep this brief. I'm going to try to talk very quickly and move quickly and not get too hung up on anything because usually when I review a single product, it can run into 20 minutes if I'm not careful, and we got 2 here to review. So I'm going to go over the review of the speakers first, then the sub, and then everything as a whole, okay? So these have a 25 by 32 millimeter folded ribbon tweeter, 5 1/4 midwoofer. The recommended amplifier power is 50 to 250 watts. They are 8 ohms and 86 decibels. I did not find them incredibly difficult to drive. Then again, my amplifiers are 250 watts at 8 ohms. I did also try these speakers on an amp with only 50 watts of channel at 8 ohms, and they seem to play plenty loud. The height, width, and depth are 10.75 inch by 7 1/8 by 8 1/4 deep. They weigh 8.8 pounds, have HDF cabinets with a 25 millimeter front baffle and 15 millimeter rear and sides. That's a pretty big deal, and I'll tell you guys why. Most speakers are medium density fiberboard or MDF. These are HDF. And these speakers cost $229 and come with a 5-year warranty. Another speaker that has an HDF cabinet, for example, is going to be the SVS Ultra, which is $1,000 for the pair. I could be mixing that up, and it could be just that it shares the same 1-inch front baffle. If I mix that up, I will leave it in the comments. My point is, most speakers don't come with high-density fiberboard cabinets at this price point, or even for much more. So that's a really nice touch. The cabinet is also extensively braced on the inside. It's very rigid. If you want a little knock test, there you go. It's very solid. I didn't hear any cabinet resonance when listening to these. All right, so we're going to go through the pros, we're going to go through the cons, we're going to go to listening impressions, and so on. So the pros. They have incredible sound for the $229 price tag. They have incredible sound even outside of that, honestly. The build quality and finish is really good, and I'm going to tell you about the finish just a little bit. So Emotiva uses a vinyl that I consider very heavy duty. Most of the time, I don't like vinyl wrapped speakers. I'm always worried I'm just going to bang them against something, nick the vinyl, and then you're just going to see like wood, and it just ruins the look of the speaker. I had a really, really old pair of their speakers that are about 5 years old. I think it was who cares what they are, but the vinyl finish is still totally intact. I've like bumped them here and there, and it's tough stuff. It's not a fingerprint magnet. It's just a good finish, okay? And then the front has, I believe, like 4 or 5 layers of a satin black lacquer, which is really cool. So they're easy to set up. They have big sound for a medium-sized speaker. Their price is a huge pro as well, and they have magnetic grills. I like that they have magnetic grills because I don't use grills, and when I take them off, I don't want to see holes everywhere. It sometimes makes a speaker look like Swiss cheese, like the Dynaudio M10. I can't stand how it looks with the grills off because of all the holes. And as far as easy to set up, what I mean by that is anytime I threw these on the stands to sit down and listen to them, that's about all I did. I just threw them on the stands, sat down and pressed play, and they sounded great every single time. And I moved my stands in position a lot, and these just didn't seem to be fussy. Now, just for shits and giggles, I did buy one of these like digital tape measures. I saw New Record Day had one. He recommended it. I went on Amazon. This is the D-Tape DT50. I just sat in my listening position, pointed at each speaker, readjusted them to make them like perfect, and they sounded even better. But if you have limited placement options, or you know, you don't want to really like fiddle fuck a whole lot, you just want to throw your speakers up and listen to them, these are a bet when it comes to that. I own other speakers, guys, that I got to play with for like 30 minutes if I throw them on the stands, and just 1 inch this way, 1/2 inch that way to make them sound right. It makes me just lose my mind, honestly. Like the OCD gets triggered so hard, it takes so much joy out of the hobby, and the fact that you can just throw these on some stands, plug in your cables and press play, really, really nice, honestly. I don't know what makes a speaker easy to set up versus difficult to set up, but these are easy to set up. Like I said, big sound for a medium size. These are not big speakers. I do consider these medium sized at best for bookshelves. Cons, there's not a lot, so I'm stretching a little bit here, but the Darth Vader look is not going to be for everybody. I'm indifferent about it. and look is, the looks are very personal, but yeah, that's that. And they can be harsh with brighter components. And when I say harsh, I mean more so like you may have some fatigue if you pair them with brighter components. Now, the way I listen to them is mostly with my just normal setup, which is the Kinki Studio Preamp, Kinki Studio monoblock amps, and the Bluesound Node to iNetwork streamer. I did have the shit low-key plugged in, but it was set to bypass, and it was great. My system's very, very neutral and very, very smooth, and I think these speakers pair very, very well with smooth sounding gear, because the treble is tilted up a little bit, and if you match these speakers with an amplifier that is also tilted up a little bit, you might have too much tilt up a lot of it, right? Now, if you dig that and you like sparkle and stuff like that a whole lot, by all means do that. Now, you might be sitting here and saying, well, Nemo, that's kind of uncool. You've got these like $229 speakers plugged into like $6,000 worth of gear, and you're saying that's the way you should listen to it. Hold on, not all smooth sounding amps are expensive. There are a lot of cheap smooth sounding amps or medium price smooth sounding amps. The Yamaha RS202 is $150 on Amazon, and it is a really, really, really good smooth sounding amp. It doesn't have subwoofer outputs, but you can use high levels to the high level inputs on this. So problem solved. It comes with a remote. It has built-in Bluetooth, tone controls, all kinds of shit. I know because my best friend has one. I listen to it all the time. It's a great amp, and it's 150 bucks. So again, as long as it's paired with a smooth sounding amp, you're in good hands. So again, arguably not a con. It kind of depends who you are and what you're looking for. I just think it's important to know that these are tilted up in the higher frequencies a little bit. Listening impressions. So they pair best with smoother gear, like I said. The highs are on the forward side of neutral. They're revealing, detailed, and image well without causing any fatigue, as long as they're paired properly. The mids are good, and there's no apparent coloration, so I really don't have much else to say. The bass is tight, punchy, and controlled, has great quality and low quantity. They are not boomy or boxy at all. Now, when I say great quality and low quantity, this is important. That is a characteristic I want in a bookshelf speaker, typically, if it's medium sized. Because what I've noticed is if a bookshelf speaker has high bass quantity, its quality is very low, and it sounds boomy, boxy, and it sounds like shit when you turn up the volume. But if it's the other way around, where the quality is very, very good, it's up here, and the quantity is just a little bit low because the size, you know, I mean, it's small. It's got a 5 1/4 inch woofer. What do you expect, right? Well, I can supplement that with a good subwoofer, and it'll sound beautiful. So that's what I prefer. Like I said, not boomy or boxy at all. And all right, that's it for the speakers. Let's move over to the subwoofer. So this is Airmotiv S8 subwoofer. It's an 8-inch active with an 8-inch passive. The active is underneath, the passive is up front. It's got 200 watts RMS from a Class D amplifier. Will go down to 33 hertz and up to 200 hertz, plus or minus 3 decibels. It has RCA, LFE, and high-level inputs. It has a stereo out left and right with built-in crossover and bass management for your main speakers. And what that means is you can plug, you know, RCA outs from your preamp into this, then RCA outs from the subwoofer to your amplifier, or amplifiers if you use monos, whatever. And then there's a switch on the back, 60, 80, or 100 hertz. What do you want to cross over your main speakers at? So a lot of people do feel that if you remove some bass from your left and right speakers, it does open them up quite a bit. And that is true, it really does. You can kind of accomplish the same thing with tone controls to some degree. It's not quite the same because with tone controls, you're turning down like a broader section of the bass, whereas with this, it's just a clear crossover, right? So it's a cool feature, it's nice they included it. For 300 bucks, kind of wild in my opinion that it's even there, but it is cool. So it's got volume, frequency, and a phase switch, 0 or 180. The frequency, I believe, goes as low as 60 hertz on the knob and as high as, I think, 150. The shape, height, width, and depth are all 11.75 inches. It is a cube. It's made out of MDF, weighs 19.2 pounds, and is $299. Serious budget stuff here, guys. In a review I did for another subwoofer, I said subwoofer less than $500, forget it. I don't even want to hear it. You know what I mean? I should have remembered Emotiva existed before I said that, because they have this ability to make shit at a budget that normally I would not consider good, yet somehow they make it really, really good. And not just good for the money either, just good. Pros. So the built-in limiter is great for home theater. My system double duties or triple duties even for music, home theater, and when I play Xbox, right? And I noticed when I was watching a movie the other day Bass was so deep, it hit, it never cut out, it never fluttered, no matter how loud I turned it. I could not get this thing to run out of steam because it seems to just cut low. I guess it has essentially like a subsonic filter is what I'm guessing, maybe around 20 or 25 hertz, something like that. When you're watching movies, that ultra low frequency, it's not really missed because like it's not like music where you know exactly where it's supposed to be. I don't know where the ultra low frequencies are in a freaking movie. I have no idea. I don't miss them. This just played loud and pressurized in my room during movies. It was a great feature. Another pro, the bass is incredibly deep. Not just for its size, not just for its price, just in general, its bass is very deep. It's got a small footprint. The high pass crossover is cool, easy setup. It's not monotone at all. And what I mean by that is a lot of times entry-level subwoofers, you know, they're only going to produce one kind of sound just at different volumes, right? Your bass drum is going to sound like your bass guitar. It's going to, you know, or it's EDM or rap. It doesn't matter. All your bass is going to sound the same. Car audio is a lot like that. This isn't like that. The bass does sound different within reason, right? It's not as like resolving and distinct as a much more expensive subwoofer, but it's not monotone either. And easy integration, like I said, easy setup. Cons, the built-in limiter could be a con for some because it does cut out the ultra low frequency bass in music, right? Now there's only about 3 songs that I have where I really noticed that. And it's kind of a con, it's kind of not a con. And I'll tell you why it's kind of not a con. Because I have 3 8-inch subwoofers in for review right now. And one of them I already reviewed, so I can talk about the Bowers & Wilkins ASW608. I mentioned in that review that subwoofer, you know, it's $500. It is truly full range. It'll play the lowest of the low frequencies. It totally will. But on those same 3 songs, it bottomed out. You know what I mean? So would you rather have your sub bottom out or just cut those frequencies out? Now, in fairness, the Bowers & Wilkins ASW608 does have a switch built in, like a pseudo limiter as well, or an actual limiter as well, I'm guessing, where it does cut off that extension to avoid that. But that one is 200 watts peak. This one's 200 watts RMS. And I never was able to get this to run out of steam. So not a comparison. I will do a comparison of the 3 that I have because I also have the Aperion Audio Bravus 8D. Excellent subwoofer also. All 3 are excellent also. By the way, it just really depends what your needs are. And I will talk about that in a separate video. So the built-in limiter, like I said, it's kind of a con, but kind of not, because you know what, if I've got friends over listening to like music, I definitely don't want my sub to bottom out, and this will not bottom out. Listening impressions, plays loud with good dynamic swings. Speed and articulation are good. It's not the best, it's not as good as a sealed unit, but it is better than a ported unit. In my experience, I've kind of discovered that subs with a passive radiator do kind of land somewhere in between. Sealed and ported as far as like speed and things like that, and articulation. I think it's best to leave the frequency low to avoid boominess. This is not a boomy subwoofer, don't get me wrong, but the lowest you can turn the knob is 60 hertz. So you turn it up, where are you going? 65, 70, 75. You're turning up the frequency quite a lot. Most subwoofers you'll start to have localization issues as you increase the frequency on that knob. I played with that initially. I didn't really like the results. I turned it all the way down to 60, and I found that it actually sounded best right there. There's no need to really turn it up above that. Never seemed to run out of steam, like I've said 10 times already. Bass is incredibly deep for an 8-inch and can pressurize a room, at least my room, which is 10 by 12 with 9-foot ceilings. That's it for the subwoofer. I will just kind of show it to you a little bit so you can see. So this is the front passive radiator. Let's get this back on. It'd be cool if subwoofers had magnetic grills, huh? Probably pop off with the sound pressure though. That is the active. It's got built-in feed, it has to, because it has the active downfiring woofer. It's gonna use your standard power cord. These are high-level inputs, LFE, RCA in. This is your output crossover with your 3 switches, your volume, your crossover frequency, phase 0, 180, and auto or on options. Now, I may or may not have this sitting on another subwoofer. Don't judge me, I needed something to put it on. So, how does this all sound as a system? Pretty fucking good. Yeah, it sounds pretty damn good as a whole system. I really enjoyed this. I've had these components for about 45 days now, and for the most part, that's what I've been listening to. I didn't really feel the need to like take these off and throw up more expensive speakers. They sounded really, really good. You guys know I own the older version. I gave the older version a raving review, and I'm going to give these a raving review. They're great. The whole system is really good. Steve Gutenberg reviewed the Airmotiv B1 Pluses also, and if you watch the video, he's like just gushing over them. He loves them so much. I understand why. I thought he was overreacting a little bit maybe when I first saw the video. And now that I've spent 45 days with these versions, like I get it. Like what you get for the money is really good. And that slight upgrade they did to the crossover did add that just touch of refinement. Now, if you have the old version, do you need to upgrade? No, enjoy your old version. The old versions are great. There's no need to sell them and get these. But there is a slight difference. There is that touch of refinement. The old ones, while I listen to them here and there, like I wouldn't say I could throw them up and listen to them for like 45 days straight like I did with these. I can't really tell you like a whole lot about what's different besides saying it's just a little bit more refined, just a little bit smoother, just a little bit better, but that little bit, it made a difference for me, right? You know, I didn't really find much lacking when listening to these. I did at one point swap out the subwoofer for a few different ones because, you know, like I said, that's if anything's limiting, it's that because of the actual limiter, and I replaced it with the, look, I replaced it with a $1,000 subwoofer. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. Hey guys, let me tell you, it sounded incredible. If you came over here and I didn't tell you what these cost and you'd never heard of these speakers before, and you heard the whole system with these speakers and the $1,000 subwoofer, you'd think the speakers were equally priced to the rest of my system, honestly. And I'm not really trying to say like the subwoofer's a weak link, like you shouldn't get it. It's $299, guys. Like, if that's your budget, then this is as good as you can get, okay? It really is, I promise you. So by all means, get it. But if you've got another $100 to spend, like, yeah, you can get better. Another $200 to spend, yeah, you can get better. When you get into like the super affordable territory, every couple $100 does get you more bang for your buck, right? And I'll talk about that more in the other video I do where I'm going to compare 3 8-inch subwoofers with each other that are $300, $400, and $500 each. The system as a whole was just incredibly enjoyable. It really was. I mean, these speakers with this sub, what is that, $530 or $528 if you want to be exact? Let's throw in $100 for speaker stands, $628. I mean, man, another $150 for that Yamaha RS202 amp I recommended. Like, it's all just so good. You know what I mean? I got a lot of love for components like this because like many years ago, maybe like 8 or 9 years ago, I was in a super bad breakup and I left all my stereo gear at my ex-girlfriend's house. I didn't care, I just left. I just wanted out, you know what I mean? And when I was like rebuilding everything, that's when I had come across Emotiva, and that's when I picked up their A100 amp and a couple of small speakers they had. That was my way back, you know what I mean? So I dig it, man, I dig it. Ask any questions you have in the comments below. There's not a whole lot more I think I can say about this kind of stuff. If I left anything out or misspoke on anything, I will leave like a pinned post. Links below to everything I used. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine doing better for the money. I really can't. You know, these 3 components, the bookshelves with this sub, it's a killer mix for the price. It really is. Don't get too caught up in the OCD. You know what I mean? You can play the game of another couple $100 with any item. I bought a couple new TVs recently. I went crazy trying to figure out a budget, you know, because even with TVs, every $100 or $200 you spend, you can get a better thing for your dollar. But you got to draw the line somewhere. You know, you have to. All right, dude, I think I've talked enough. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully this didn't run too long. Until next time, later.